There's a very famous episode in this week's Parsha, the story of Pesach Sheni. The Torah tells us there were individuals that were ritually impure, and they were ineligible to participate in the Korban Pesach that the Jewish people were going to bring in the desert. And they come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they said, Lama nigara, why should we be worse? Why should we miss the opportunity of participating in the Korban Pesach? And of course, the halacha is that because they're ritually impure, they weren't able to participate in the Korban Pesach. Moshe says, let me ask, let me find out. And he speaks to Hashem, and Hashem, in the merit of these people's asking, Hashem speaks, Hashem teaches the halacha of Pesach Sheni, specifically in the context of this story, that if a person was ineligible to participate in the Korban Pesach, there's an opportunity a month later to make it up. A very, very unique mitzvah. Many Mefarshim discuss the idea of that phrase that the people used, Lama Nigara. Why should we be worse? Why should we be bad that we miss out on the opportunity to do the mitzvah? There's a lot of beautiful lessons, but at its core, it's a strange question. If you say, we really would like to perform the mitzvah, that's very understandable. If you say, why should this be the halacha? Why should we be any worse? I don't know. God makes all kinds of rules. So there's many, many ideas. The Meshech Chochmah has a very novel thought. Meshech Chochmah says, why were these people ritually impure in the first place? There's different ideas said in the Gemara, but one of the possibilities presented in the Gemara is these were the people who had been carrying the coffin of Yosef. Yosef, of course, was very clear to the members of the Jewish people that when the time would come, one of these days that the Exodus would occur, they should please take his coffin out of Egypt. Yosef was instrumental to the Jewish experience in Egypt, and there are various sources that the Jewish people bringing the coffin of Yosef was a great merit in getting out of Egypt and things going well for them when they got out of Egypt. So in any event, one of the ideas is that these people were carrying the casket of Yosef. Meshech Chochmah says, the people turned to Moshe Rabbeinu and they say, we don't understand this. The Korban Pesach is all about God's choosing the Jewish people and taking us out of Egypt. Who should we be grateful to for the fact that we are God's chosen people and that for all of our shortcomings, he took us out of Egypt? Is not Yosef one of the classic people to whom we as a nation need to be eternally grateful, specifically for the fact that we had the Exodus? So you're telling us that we're ineligible to bring the offering because we've been carrying Yosef's coffin? How could that be? Lama nigara. Why should we be worse? Why should we be less connected to the mitzvah of Korban Pesach because of our connection of all mitzvahs, of all people, because of our connection to Yosef? Couldn't be. That's what they're saying. And he also, it's very interesting. He says, it says in the pasuk that they came before Moshe and Aaron, and then they said to him, clearly Moshe. Why does he even have to say they said to him? Of course, it's just say they said. Obviously, they're speaking to Moshe. So Meshech Chochmah says, the reason it says to him is because there's a famous idea that when all the other Jews were gathering riches from Egypt, when it was time to leave, what did Moshe take? Moshe took Yosef's casket. So they said, Moshe, of all people, you, who you are, you should understand our issue. You are the one who had the deep understanding that it's so much more about Yosef's casket than it is about the riches of Egypt. We're following the path that you laid out and we're ineligible. It's a very interesting pshat, and I think it's very, very important, whether it be on a national level, whether it be on a communal level, whether it be on a personal level. We all have so many people, some living currently, some no longer living, some that we never even met, who we owe such gratitude to. And it's so easy to forget. What have you done for me lately is such a challenge. That outlook is such a challenge in our times. This is a beautiful perspective to reflect on, that we always have to be asking ourselves, in whatever situation we find ourselves, certainly in one that we feel fortunate to be in, who do we need to be grateful to for this? And if that we ever have the opportunity to pay back people generations later, we should always jump at the opportunity. Have a wonderful Shabbos.